here we have this one situation where enormous entities want to use the internet for their purpose to save money for doing what they're doing now. They use FedEx. They use the delivery services. They use the mail. They deliver in other ways, but they want to deliver vast amounts of information over the internet. And again, the internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes. And if you don't understand, those tubes can be filled, and if they're filled, when you put your message in, it gets in line, it's going to be delayed by anyone that puts into that tube enormous amounts of material.
She's killed hundreds of thousands of people with her stupidity.
I'm bored. Let's do something else.
I got this book. My dad gave it to me.
Sounds as though the rapper is attempting to put an end. Welcome back to the Freedom Stream. I almost went with Voice of the Veteran. I'm doing like about 10 things at once here right now.
I believe
we
it's
were actually
the swamp.
a bit late. The swamp. We
The
were
swamp.
actually a bit late even coming back online because we've been trying to put everything together and organize everything. It is a madhouse. Actually, a lot of fun though. Because it has absolutely been amazing. So I do not, the next article that we're going over right now, I'm going down through this article, which is 3/4 of the way complete. I will be going over it and telling you what's going on. Kevin's seen it. I showed him. He's, like I said, his jaw dropped to the ground.
It almost makes you feel like you don't know where you are, but we all do know that
we were in goddamn Hawaii.
So, yeah, Kevin got some new buttons here. So.
I'm having fun.
So what we have here is, I titled this one, Leaks Forced Data Collection to Private Military Contracting, Snowden's Efforts in Vain. And we touched about this in the very last, 4 or 5 minutes of the previous episode because we wanted to split these up into 2 episodes to sort of separate them. But we spoke about how this ties in with our previous episode where potentially social media psychological warfare applications developed by Dynology, which was owned by General Jones, Obama's national security advisor, could have been used, or potentially could have been used to create the narrative, the Russian narrative, which we are now finding out was completely false and made up. Now that some more information has come out about Seth Rich, who apparently was the actual person who, and there's evidence pointing towards this, who was the one that leaked the DNC documents, not the Russians. Now that that's been established, we understand that the Russian narrative was completely false. And how do you falsify a Russian narrative on such a massive scale? Well, we discussed that earlier. That's called psychological warfare, psychological operations, IIA, interactive internet activities, and IO, information operations. It's something I have a background in. Not going to go into it. Went into it in the other one. But pretty much a 10-year subject matter expert in this area, right? Worked with these people, worked for Dynology almost right around 8 years. And so we have potentially this software being used to create this narrative. Let's just say, hypothetically, right, that what all of these people have suspected about Paul Manafort, about John McCain, are true. What the Huffington Post article, what the election watchdog groups that have called for investigations into Manafort for the 2010 Ukrainian election. Let's just assume let's just hypothetically say they are correct. Well, if they are correct, in order to do what they're accused of having done, they would absolutely need the software that Dynology owned. And we now know that Dynology, oddly enough, was one of 5 strategic partners listed on Paul Manafort's company's site. So we know they actually have a business relationship. Now we have 3 people that are potentially that are all very close business associates, all relating to campaigns and stuff, all possessing a very unique key or a piece to a puzzle that they need to be able to put together to create this Russian narrative, if that's so what they are doing. And then we went into more detail into different reasonings that they might have had for that with John McCain and with Paul Manafort. But one reason we really didn't go into, which police like to call motive, would be potentially with Dynology and what benefit would they have. Well, right about the time Snowden leaks started coming out back in 2013, there were actually 2 major changes that were made by Congress and by different intelligence agencies. One of them was they said they had established whistleblower protection for subcontractors, so he wouldn't have had to have done what he did to have been able to have brought that to the attention. Well, that's wrong, because in 2015, as a subcontractor, I was denied whistleblower protection for filing a claim of fraud, waste, and abuse. So we know that that was all just BS. So they actually did one other thing, so that they claim as having been another step to help reduce potential leaks in the future. That step was called the DoD NISPOM, N-I-S-P-O-M. And what basically this is, and I'll actually read, I think it's probably best that I read it from Clear Force's website, but before I read this from Clear Force's website, I want to explain that right around the time 2013 when this happened with Snowden, and they started coming up with the ideas for changing these rules to NISPOM, which would have, I'm assuming, probably would have been potentially influenced by General Jones, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, Obama's National Security Advisor, 2009-2010. He would absolutely have input or be able to have influence, if he so desired, on creating the new laws. Now, this new law requires, let me read this here real quick. I hope I can zoom in on this without being too much of a pain. But this is from Clear Force's website. What Dynology did back in 2013 was they started developing an application that just by coincidence happens to provide the same be a service to the exact requirements that were added to try to prevent leaks in the future. So leaks or leaking, which may have actually been, if you believe the Huffington Post and these others, and you say, okay, what they are theorizing is true, and McCain and Manafort had something to do with it, then potentially Dynology would. You would potentially have Dynology, Manafort, and McCain involved in leaks. Now let me read this, okay? The defense. This is from Clear Force's website. Dynology developed this application, this software, to automate the process of scanning people's personal information to be able to find leaks before they happen. Okay? Yeah, I'm serious about this. So, in other words, Snowden thought he was fixing something, and all he did was he took it out of what probably was decent oversight under the government, or at least some oversight under the government, and now put it into this. So this is the NIPSOM, right, from Clear Forces, which is owned by General Jones. He's the on the board of directors. He's I think the CEO. Again, don't quote me on that. Go to Clear Forces website under About Us. He's at the very top of the page, General Jones, right? So whatever his position is, I'm not going to look it up right now, but he's as high as you go in there. Okay, he is now General Jones, and Jim Jones, his son, is now Clear Force. Clear Force, from their site, put this: DoD NISPOM Change 2. The Defense Security Services Conforming Change 2 to DOD 5220.22-M National Industrial Security Program Operating Manual, NISPOM, and in accompanying Industrial Security Letter were released on 18 May 2016. Among other changes, the updates required that the DoD cleared contractors implement an insider threat program. Contractors had until 30 November 2016. Now remember that date, 30 November 2016. That is the exact month, I believe, if you look at the release on ClearForce's website, that they released their application that basically does everything that this is asking for, and it took a couple years to develop that application. So, do you see anything going on here, right? So, that's the Jones Group. Yep.
That
Kevin
is a
was
partner
looking
on the ClearForce website.
Yeah, oh yeah.
If you go down to the very bottom of the page under partners, you've got Dynology,
Sure.
Jones Group International, and a couple of others.
Hey, Manafort's isn't there. Could you go? Could you go up to About Us? Click About Us right there.
Got it.
There you go. And scroll down.
Scrolling.
What is his position? General Jones' position. No, that's Jones. Scroll down. I don't know. Well, no, I'm going to go on for that. So let me read this. Okay. So
I'll work on this.
You work on it. Among other changes, update to the DoD cleared contractors implemented an insider threat program. Contractors had until 30 November 2016. Oddly enough, just happens to be the same month that they released this software from, I believe, beta version. We'll have to double check that, but it's right within that time. Specifically, the NISPOM states Defense Security Services, DSS, to require that all entities possessing a facility clearance, cleared personnel shall incorporate insider threat-based technologies and processes to maintain their current ability to hold clearances. The four reference processes are, and they list these, I'm not going to read those, there's 4 processes. Each of those Dynology meets the requirements of. They boast about that on this product. Okay, so so apart from the non-existent subcontractor whistleblower enhancements, specific monitoring requirements of anyone with a clearance was mandated. Oddly, around the same time Obama administration was writing that law, and this is, I'm reading from what I've got written so far here, was writing laws that essentially transferred the collection of personal information from the NSA to, for example, a private company exactly like ClearForce. Dynology had begun developing advanced tactical applications that automate the data collection process, which was eventually migrated to ClearForce. So now, ClearForce, General Jones, is now taking over basically the job that the NSA would have otherwise had, because when Snowden did all that, Snowden made it so the NSA could not touch anything domestically, right, without it being tied to a foreign, like a FISA, but they can't do that. So, thank you very much, Snowden. You took it from the government, which at least had some frickin' oversight, may not have been what you wanted, but had always been my experience, really good oversight, and you've transferred that requirement, that industry, that product, you've transferred that commodity to the private industry, which is now being profited from by Obama's national security advisor, the guy that had it, the people that had it in the first place, right? What good did he do? He did nothing good. So you have something there with Jim Jones.
I do have
you wanted to play that or something? Or?
I was thinking maybe we could play this real quick.
Okay.
It's General James Jones.
Uh-huh.
Here we go. Right off the ClearForce website, a featured video.
Mm-hmm.
And
the federal government has a global view in the threat understanding to significantly mitigate cyber threats as they develop. Mm-hmm. But with threats increasing in lethality and frequency, it is crucial that businesses manage threats in real time continuously.
Go ahead.
Was this his speech at the not Chamber of Commerce? What was that organization?
It's doesn't really say here.
because like we were talking earlier, he got just phenomenal sons. But I don't want to get distracted. Okay, let me go back to this. This is where it gets amazing. All right, if you go to not Dynology, now ClearForce, they spun off ClearForce to basically take care of all this. So, and I've got all of this. I'm reading it right from a post that's going to go on tonight, tomorrow, as soon as I finish it up. ClearForce under benefits. Now, this is going to be freaking shocking to pretty much about everybody out there. ClearForce benefits. ClearForce delivers a complete integrated solution that protects organizations and employees from insider threats by continually evaluating lead indicators of high-risk behavior, emotional, and financial stress in and outside the workspace. So let me please repeat this. They are monitoring you in and outside the workspace, evaluating leading indicators of high-risk behavior, emotional. How the hell are they collecting data on me to determine my emotional status? Well, I tell you right now, social media. What did we develop in Baghdad? Social media psychological operations applications. This company's built for it. This is freaking the NSA on steroids, my friend. Let me go. And this is from their website. I'm not making this up. It is easy. Okay, stress in and outside the workplace. So they're not just going to be monitoring you at your workplace. They're monitoring you, determining emotional and behavior and financial stress.
And remember, ClearForce's 4 partners, 2 of which is the Jones Group International.
Sure.
And Dynology.
Dynology, yeah. Obama's former national security advisor, who was making money on contracts as a national security advisor, or if he wasn't making it directly, his family was through Dynology, which he is now profiting from because Dynology's success built this, which is now ClearForce, which is now him. There's no way you don't tie all these together.
And tie it to you. You worked for Dynology for 8 years.
8 years.
Developed and pioneered the software when it was new technology back in 2008.
Which I have on my blog post already, a screenshot of one example of what the psychological operations applications. That was in the infancy. That's 2007, 2008. We're in 17 now. 10 years is a lifetime in technology, right? So, next, let me read the next little paragraph here. ClearForce. Oh, this is so scary. ClearForce provides centralized, efficient adjudication and regulatory and legally compliant workflow to take action. The ClearForce solutions operate with full employee consent, which means if you want to work for the company, you're going to have to sign their consent form. If you don't, well, you don't have to work for them. And by the way, this is not just for government employees with clearances. Yes, they're going to be doing contracts for that. Yes, this is built to meet that compliance, but it's also built to meet the industry standard compliance, which will be used at banks, at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right?
At your home,
outside
of the workplace.
Because they're everywhere. But if you could be a McDonald's employee, McDonald's could be contracting ClearForce to look at every single aspect of your life to determine whether or not you're potentially going to be stealing burgers.
Wait a minute. You could be a board operator for the Swamp radio show, and all of a sudden, black helicopters.
You could.
Men
That's
in
why you're in
suits
my
outside.
line of sight right now.
God bless it. Really?
Now let me finish this, right? Okay, because this is where it gets crazy. This is I think your favorite part that I read earlier. The ClearForce solutions operate with a full employee consent, removes judgmental bias because it's all just having a computer algorithms determine whether or not you're guilty. Well, I'm sure there's another product, but it removes judgmental bias through standard job level policy. Automates checks and balances and provides appropriate levels of anonymity and security.
What, anonymity? Why? Why
do they need covert anonymity to monitor you if you work for a shopping department store, because they are looking at that. What this is shooting for is predictive threats. So they'll be able to look at everything, look at your social media, look at and determine emotional, look at your finances, look at your behavior. They're listing it right here on their website.
Pat, when you say anonymity, who are they speaking of? Themselves?
Yes.
So they have to be secret so that the person at the department store does not know they're being watched.
Yeah. So they're going to have components of it that
it's
will
a selling point for
they'll
the company.
have components of it that will be obvious, and then they'll have components of it that will be potentially as covert as you could want, potentially even
so
setting someone up.
If you say the wrong thing at work,
do whatever you want to.
Your employer has a contract with ClearForce.
Mm-hmm.
They could potentially watch you outside of the workplace to determine whether or not you pose a predictive threat that may hurt their company or whatever. Now, taken on a grander level, now follow me on this, I may be wrong, but from what I've gathered, you take it on a higher level, a federal level, you can potentially use software like this and use the anonymity of the product that they are selling, whether it's to the government or anywhere else,
to control everything, anybody,
to watch everything,
to watch everything,
literally,
right? Yes.
It's like it's
you get it.
permission
I did it.
Oh, you did it,
Kevin understands. I freaking did it. Right? That was my goal.
I think you're right. Thanks, man. I got it.
God.
But I'm just
You're right.
I'm just a caveman bored up, if you will,
absolutely
a layman.
Right.
You're
absolutely right. Right?
It's like an
checks and
epiphany here.
balances provide the appropriate levels of anonymity and security. Protects organizations and employees from insider threats by continually evaluating leading indicators of high-risk behavior, emotional, and financial. Now, let's throw some other irony
The
out
financial
there for
part
you.
really hurts somebody. It stings somebody that right in the pocketbook if they are not really financially advanced, if you will. You know what I mean?
When you read my book coming out very soon,
Victim
your
of the
sister,
Swamp,
your
yes.
sister's editing it.
Don't
but,
bring up my sister.
I can always bring her up because she's editing my damn book.
All right.
Right? As soon as she gets that done, which she's not being rushed. She's got finishing up school in like a week or so.
She's a teacher, not a student, and she's got many books edited under her belt.
Yeah.
And
So
I cannot wait to have your book under her belt as well.
So when that comes out, you're going to get the whole story. You're going to understand how you're going to say to yourself, okay, how do these people, how does this company, which was originally Dynology, how are they ever put in charge or being allowed to maintain clearances? When you read my book and you read what happened to my clearance,
You were
it was
replaced
a
in a day.
freaking nightmare that took 4 years for them to come to I never even got an official resolution handed to me. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. I'm not going to go into it. That's in my book. But when you understand these things and you say this company is now going to be responsible for contracts that are going to be, I read somewhere on here like 3,500 law enforcement and other government agencies that they're pulling data from to collect information on you. If you get a traffic ticket, if you get if you go get behind on your bills, if you make a suggestive post or something, a hateful post on social media, your employer is going to be notified this.
It's an algorithm that's going to flag you. Is there a predictive threat of some sort with this employee?
Your clearance could be in jeopardy. And by the way, you don't have to worry about it being a problem because you have full employee consent. And it removes and they've removed the judgmental bias through standard job level policy, a standardized job level policy. So basically, this algorithm's I'm sure they're gonna have some sort of mediation process. But oh my God, right? And again, the irony of this, if I'm using the right word there, is that people who I believe should be looked at by the government for potentially being involved with the leaks surrounding the 2016 presidential election. If you're ever wondering who benefited from the leaks, because it killed the leaks, hurt Hillary, The leaks hurt Trump, but helped
Destroyed
Trump.
Bernie, too.
Destroyed Bernie.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at all, but I don't think anybody, I think that Seth had something, was all in charge of that.
Well,
so if you look at the
definitely
narrative,
destroyed Seth then.
if you look at the narrative from like
Too soon?
election day
Sorry.
forward,
Yeah.
right? If you look at from election day forward, then you say to yourself, okay, the leaks have only helped, surely helped companies whose entire focus is providing
Protection?
advanced threat protection
Yeah.
of leaks.
So they could potentially
They
have
could have
caused the
potentially have created their own industry.
leaks. Yeah. They cause the leaks, then they provide the protection against said leaks.
And if you think anything
their
I'm
site.
saying here
Here.
is BS, I've got it all from their site in front of me.
I want to read
plus
something
a
to you.
history with them, plus everything on it.
Right off of their
Oh
site.
my God!
It almost seems like you're 100% correct here, because when you pull up their website, clearforce.com, they have insider statistics. The impact is significant, Pat. The U.S. economy lost $1.18 trillion in direct cost in 2014.
1,450 reported
implicated.
tax.
Yeah, so check this out.
2013.
Then they make it in all big font with exclamation points.
Fraud and theft.
Yeah, look, cybercrime, $111 billion estimated
go.
yearly cost. Fraud and theft, $870 billion estimated yearly cost. 61% of losses involve managers and senior executives. Workplace violence, really? $202 billion estimated lost productivity. 1/6 of all violent crime occurs in the workplace. Yeah, well, maybe it's because 1/3 of all people are in the workplace. You know what I mean? And then they put this weird little, it's almost like a meme, like a homemade graph up there that shows the rapid growth of the costs.
Yeah, in just the last 5 years, it's a result of cyber attack. And that's to 2014. Oh my God! Think of what it is this year. We had the largest in the history of the planet cyber attack last week.
Clever marketing on their website there.
You know, with which that 21, 22-year-old kid shut down the attack by rather questionable intentions.
He typed in Joshua, just like in the movie Hackers.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
So no, he actually registered the domain that it was talking to. And I don't know what his intended purpose for doing that was. I believe he's even acknowledged that he sort of had somewhat nefarious
maybe
purposes for that. He had nothing to do with the virus.
No.
But he thought maybe there was a way he could make money on it or something if he registered the domain. But by registering that domain, it hit a trigger, a kill switch that stopped
everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Maybe
he may have saved the freaking planet.
He was just trying to promote a Harambe site of some sort. That's all. He was a kid trying to be funny about Harambe.
I'm wondering what he was doing. He even, the way he said it, it was like, oh my God, he was up to something that, he probably shouldn't have been. Yeah. But by doing that, stumbled into the thing that triggered and stopped that. But it's phenomenal.
Do you want to play a game?
Hey, if you go to my blog, right? You'll see posts that I've written back in August earlier about the hacking tools getting stolen from the NSA. Those stolen NSA hacking tools were used in last week's attack, and I wrote about that right in my post on my blog site. So you can actually go to my blog. What is that? You go pfc40book.com and just right there on the page.
Go to the blog. Again, in the
blog.
Description of the last two episodes, 11 and 12, there's a link in episode 11 right there in the description that will bring you right to the blog. And there's also a link here at pfc40book.com.
I kind of like the thing that we're doing right now, right, where I'm writing something, although I didn't meet deadline on this one. I did that on the other one. I wanted to have actually 3 of these done today. Wow, did I bite off more than I could chew. But what I'm liking to do is to actually link the broadcast that we're doing to me reading basically and helping to explain what are very complicated things, right? So I'm making the post which explain it, and these are areas that I am a subject matter expert in, and reading these. So there's one last paragraph. I want to read this. I don't know. I'm just going to read it really quick. ClearForce alerts. This is under the benefits. One last from ClearForce. ClearForce alerts are in compliance with the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the community requirements. That makes the information actionable in real time. So this is real-time actionable information. You get pulled over on a Saturday night DUI. They're going to know it. They're saying that they're going to know it. Your employer could potentially know it Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, 24/7, real time. When combined with our standardized and legally compliant workflow, they got to put legally compliant in a lot of things, right? Because it's very
like
gray workflow. You can take appropriate action to reduce risk without fear of subsequent legal issues. This end-to-end process is true risk reduction, not just risk identification. So they're saying basically that their product is intelligent. It can reduce risk essentially by predicting risk, not just identifying it, right? So you're not just saying, oh, this just happened, it's reported and documented. They're looking at ways to be able to make it almost predictive that will allow them to reduce, to prevent things before they happen. If you're trying to prevent something before it happens, that's predictive, right? So yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
So they're going there. So I'm working on this right now. I'm hoping to have this blog out very shortly. This pretty much sums up where I was going with this NIPSCOM. What impact? I don't think Snowden, I wish he would listen to this, because I don't think Snowden ever would have imagined, or I would love to know how he feels about hearing this article. I would love to know how Senator Paul, or Congressman Paul, Senator Paul, I would like to know how he feels about this. He's extremely strong advocate of our protection of our rights. Are these people only going to advocate the protection of our privacy?
Are you calling out
to
Rand
the government?
Paul right now?
I am. I love his.
I really like that guy.
He's got gray hair, doesn't he?
Kinda.
Different.
Sorry.
He's all right. I don't agree with everything he says.
Well, you can't
but
with
he
any
does sort of
politician,
all
really,
right.
yeah. This
This is something we definitely agree with, and I would like to think that this is wrong, right? You've got these people in these positions that have been granted and given these abilities, right? They've been granted and given these levels of authority by Americans, by taxpayers, to think of the fact that as Obama's national security advisor is in his job as national security advisor, his son's company just lost a bid on a contract he was doing in Iraq. The company that just won the bid now has to, or the government now has to have the company that did that rebuild that application from scratch. An application which potentially, if John McCain or Paul Manafort were involved in any way, which should be investigated, with them and the use of these applications in Dynology's and General Jones's intelligence capabilities, then we need to get more people involved with this, all right? I can't do this on my own. I'm working 18, 20 hours in a row. My life has been destroyed on this for standing up for what's right. You gotta question, if nothing else. I've written a book, almost 300 pages. I now have a podcast where I speak out to people. A broadcast where I speak out to people. I have a web blog where I write posts and stuff, not just about this, but IT security in general, swamp things. I'm trying to expose people who are, what is that called? The dark state. Well, if you're looking for the dark state, wouldn't they have the tools and the relationships that we're talking about right now? The power dark state is going to exist at the highest levels of government. And, nobody's hired other than next to the president than his national security advisor.
It's amazing that you work for that guy's son.
Yeah.
When you talk about the dark state, and you go back just before that when you said you need help, and we talked about Rand Paul for a moment, the likes of Trey Gowdy, who can help you?
Well, Mr. Duchemin.
Yes, Robert Duchemin. Yes.
Duchemin.
Yeah.
Said that, and he's like an attorney.
Wonderful attorney.
He was on the Kevin Halley show.
Yeah.
I bugged him with this question, and he said basically, the laws, Congress would have to get involved.
Mm-hmm. That's why I mentioned Trey Gowdy,
or
somebody
the
that's
Constitution, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
because of the contract aspect of it.
Somebody in Congress with integrity.
Yeah. So we need to, if you really want to clean up the swamp, if you really want to make an impact, you got to start by putting real regulations. You got to real protections. Protect the people who are standing up, exposing fraud, waste, and abuse. It's freaking not rocket science. All right.
Yeah.
You say you stand up and defend people. You need to actually do it. Now, when they say that in 2013 they did they modified it to include subcontractors. Well, the fact that I was denied in 2015 sort of says they're full of shit, wouldn't it?
I totally wholeheartedly agree. Yeah.
So wow, do I need evidence of that? No, it's pretty clear. So you've got these people that seem to be running roughshod, doing whatever the hell they want to do without any accountability. You got people
literally changing the laws when they have to. Yeah.
At the highest levels. What would happen if Trump's national security... Look what happened to Trump's national security advisor. He was kicked out of office for doing nothing but making a damn phone call. Where was the outrage when Obama's national security advisor's son was running a company doing contracts with the frickin' Defense Department? Right? Where was that outrage? Nowhere. And I'll be damned if I can get anybody to follow me, to get anybody to really get behind this, but I don't understand because it's everything that everybody's complaining about right now today. It is the dark state. It is fraud, waste, and abuse. It's the swamp. I swam in it for 10 years, and I'm trying desperately to fix it. And I have a way of doing it, believe it or not. And when I say I have a way of doing it, I truly do. That way is true regulation changes, truly getting subcontractor support, protecting the people, and not protecting the contracts, and not protecting the contracting companies, and not protecting government employees who are committing the fraud, waste, and abuse, which is what they're doing now.
When you say not protecting them...
That's what they're doing now. They're protecting them.
I think that you mean not protecting them when they're abusing the contracts or changing the laws to benefit just their involvement with the contracts.
They protect them. They
need
are
to protect
like,
the subcontractors as well. And by changing the law like they did and limiting your position the day you whistleblowed and then replaced you days later and modified the contract, that to me seems like, I mean, on a side note, aside from all the collusion and how things could happen, on a side note, on a personal level for you, I wholeheartedly agree with you. But I got to slow you down a little bit when you say not to protect. You don't be absolutist about it. You got to protect the contract. You got to protect the employees. You got to do all that stuff, but not when they are guilty of fraud, waste, and abuse.
When you never protect somebody who's guilty of a crime.
Did I just rant? I'm so sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. You like to make sure I'm not an absolutist. That's good.
Thank you.
But you never protect someone, or you shouldn't be protecting someone who's guilty of a crime.
Exactly.
And
you
shouldn't make it, and you shouldn't, if someone's not guilty of a crime, you shouldn't convict them in a public place. That's all the Democrats are doing. Not really any of the Democrats are running around right now playing judge and jury. You got Lois Mensch, you got the people in the UK spending money trying to influence us. You've got people everywhere that all they're doing is complicating the process, trying people in a court of public opinion, instead of just letting these organizations, let the FBI, let the Inspector General, and I don't agree with these guys. I don't agree with the Inspector General's results, and I'm fighting it. I'm going to keep fighting it, right? And if I can't win, then I'm putting my book out, and people are going to have the opportunity to look at my book and to read my book and to get my message out that way. I will get this message out, and I hope that people understand the importance of it. I hope people understand that. Let me read this again here real quick. I hope people understand that when Obama's former national security advisor says that he is evaluating, that they're collecting data both inside and outside of your business and your life, and evaluating leading indicators of high-risk behavior, emotional, and financial stress inside and outside the workplace, I hope people, no matter what you might think of me personally, which I've always tried to have been a pretty good person, you know, I'm not perfect, but I've always tried to be a pretty good person, enlisted at 40, did everything I could to be a good patriot, right? Still am today, as frustrated as I am with everything that I see. But this is big. This is really big. We need to have this looked into. No one seems to care unless it's about Trump. I'm not happy with some of the things that Rudy Giuliani, right? He owns a cybersecurity firm. Do I think he should have anything to do with it? Government contracts and cybersecurity firms? No. Am I making a personal thing against him? No. I just don't think people who have been in his position, who have built their lives around public service, you know, mayors and governors and these people, should go back into the private sector, should at any point in their life go into the private sector, turn around and profit, where in any way they could use their influence that they gained while in the sacred trust of America's citizens, right? Mm-hmm. So while they've possessed that sacred trust of American citizens, if they've possessed that, they cannot take that and turn around and profit from it, corrupting the system later on, creating the swamp.
I, again, wholeheartedly agree, and I like what you said about if they.
I'm always trying to, even in this, I make no claims. I just think things should be looked at. I make claims that this newspaper, the Huffington Post, and they did that. I don't want to attack these people personally. I respect their career. I hate it when someone like they would go after Flynn, who looks really guilty by a lot of ways, but I know how this system works enough to understand that he may not be guilty of really much of anything, right? But people will blow it up so far beyond that I'm going to wait.
What about the loyalty factor?
I'm not going to hold judgment on him.
Isn't there a loyalty factor?
He's got a huge, distinguished career as a 4-star general.
Yeah, and isn't there a loyalty factor when the president, I don't care who the president is, says, you know what, this is a good guy. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe you're being a little too hard on him. Maybe he's not that guilty of something.
Yeah, but these are good
people. Go
easy,
you know?
These are good people, right? I'm not questioning that. But they don't get pissed off at me if I want to make sure that you're being held accountable for it, right? You should respect that with me.
Should be more people like you, Pat.
You should respect that with me. I'm not trying to pin any guilt on anyone, but I can't help but look at all of these things. Not just speculation. Not, you know, you got all this stuff, Lois Mensch, you got all that stuff going on with the Russian narrative. There's no physical evidence of any of this. I give you physical evidence.
What are you talking about, Pat? There's plenty of physical evidence. President Trump had 2 Russians in the Oval Office behind closed doors.
Exactly,
and clearly he was giving them secrets. He was divulging secrets to them.
Okay, well,
everybody knows it, Pat.
As an information assurance security officer, please allow me for a decade with the DOD, please allow me to explain to you that there is a chain of command. He is what the president, whoever that president is, whether it was Hillary or Trump, would also have the title of classification authority. If you look under the classification
whatever he
authority,
wants, right?
The second it comes out of that man's mouth in public, it's declassified by that very nature. Now, if you want to have a calm, rational, intelligent discussion on whether or not that was part of the right strategy, well, I guarantee you don't know his strategy. I guarantee
nobody knows what happened
you
there.
don't
Nobody
know the
knows.
information that he knows, and there may be a perfectly legitimate reason that you, I, or anybody else would have turned around and gave him that information because, I'm aware of something over here that the people outside the White House aren't, so I'm doing this. So just shut the hell up and let these people, let the FBI, let the CIA, let the president do their damn job and support them.
Exactly. And Pat, who's
them
to say?
accountable.
Look at what happened on the tarmac with Lynch and Bill Clinton.
Oh, dear
now,
God.
Are you telling me that it's okay for people to say, to be mad about accusations of what Bill Clinton may have said to A.G. Lynch on the tarmac, but at the same time, they also know exactly what was talked about behind closed doors with the two Russian guys? Nobody knows. They could have been talking about their favorite kind of pizza. Shrimp scampi, for all we know. Just like they were talking about grandchildren on the tarmac. And anytime you bring up that argument, the people that you're arguing with, the snowflakes, if you will, will say, don't... Oh, in 3, 2, 1, they're going to bring up Obama, or they're going to bring up the Clintons. And it always goes back to them, you can't live in the past anymore. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. You can't have it both ways. And I'm really tired of being accused of being a Trumpster or a Fox News watcher and all these different things.
You were pretty triggered on that earlier
I really
today.
was, man. It's not right. And that's a total side note on what we're talking about with IA and everything else. But it seems to me like, so many people are calling for impeachment. That's a big thing, Pat. Okay, impeachment for what? For divulging secrets to the Russians, Russian spies.
Impeachment since Bill Clinton.
Exactly. Yeah. And think about this.
My God,
if there are Russian spies that he talked to, that President Trump talked to behind closed doors in the Oval Office, why do they have names and titles? Okay, you would think if he was going to divulge information to the Russian spies, he would do it on a goddamn tarmac. I'm sorry, I'm getting triggered.
There's an argument that people try to make right now that says, well, potentially the Russians have information on Donald Trump that they could use to blackmail him with. Well, you know what?
They can make it up.
No, it doesn't matter. You can't.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
First of all, Donald Trump is now President Trump after having a tape released that says he likes to grab women by their vaginas. Actually, by the pussy.
While he was
right, which I do not hold him badly for at all. I've heard half the people. That's safe for the shit that comes out of Kevin's mouth.
Oh my God! And think of the feminists. Think of the feminists that went and saw,
guys joke around. I mean, oh my God, this PC crowd.
Think of the feminists that went and bought the 50 Shades of Grey book.
God.
Think of the feminists out there that went and saw Magic Mike at the theater.
Oh my God.
They all went to bachelorette parties. They've all gone out to mail reviews.
They're sort of endorsing or condoning such behavior right now.
But of course not. No, you hear him say that 12 years ago, and all of a sudden it's like, well, he's a sexist, racist, homophobe.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy of it. It's insane.
It is. The hypocrisy level is off the charts, Patrick. And the reason I say that is because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, if you voted for Trump, you're part of the problem, and you're guilty of treason. You're a traitor." Really? Anybody slightly left of Hanoi, Jane Fonda, all of a sudden has to take it from the extreme leftists that get more airtime on TV than anybody, and we're supposed to take it? Look, I didn't vote for Trump because he was my favorite candidate. I voted for Trump because he wasn't any of the other candidates. He wasn't a politician. I didn't want Hillary's neo-globalist agenda again. So I voted for the next most popular Republican that I thought would actually win and hoped for the best, which I think many people did. You know?
Sort of wanted to give a bunch of people that don't like him the middle finger, didn't you?
Not at all.
You
Not
weren't
at all.
a middle finger?
No, I'm a comedian.
I was totally a middle finger.
I'm a comedian.
He's great. He's very funny.
That was another reason why I kind of wanted to vote for him, because I thought he'd be great at late night TV and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and were we wrong there? We freaking both hit that nail on the head, buddy. But he is the best.
I'm sorry, but going back to, I'm tired of being.
Oh, he's going to Saudi Arabia by the week, like real quick. Can you imagine? This is gonna be great, dude.
I'm tired of being called
homophobic. xenophobic, Islamophobic, xenophobic, racist, sexist, Islamophobic, homophobic, racist.
I'm sorry. I can't, get me off the board.
No.
Stop. Somebody stop it.
So, right.
Anyway, but you understand what I'm saying.
You know, people say, well, listen, you realize the billions and billions of dollars that have been spent paying people like me, that are subject matter experts in social media, psychological operations, billions of dollars that have been spent by both parties, Republican and Democrat.
The Republicans are a lot of them are just as guilty. It's crazy.
To trash one human being, which most of these people do not even believe he still is a human being. That's what $3 billion will get you.
Pretty much.
$3 billion of social media, psychological warfare, $3 billion of IIAIO, interactive internet activities, information operations. $3 billion will give you a significant portion of our electorate and the planet.
And he still won.
Pissed off at you.
And the guy still won.
And he still won.
It's amazing. It really is, man.
Right? So, you know, when you... I didn't finish the Russian question, right? So,
please,
people think that he could be influenced by the Russians. Well, the president doesn't have a clearance. Anything he's ever done sort of been waived. Nothing anybody can say, can affect him, right? Now, Congress, they could do or say something where Congress could have him impeached or something like that, yes. But after all that he's done, what could someone have that would have been gathered from an internet accessible source that could possibly be worse than what's already been thrown out for the last year at him? Grabber, by the way. All of these things.
The last 3 months especially.
The last 3 things.
Ridiculous, but yeah.
So what could the Russians possibly be holding on to for that right moment? Yeah, I'm going to hold on to this. We're going to... They throw it out and it's like, oh, really? That didn't work? Nothing's... So I actually like that component of it. The Russians don't have anything that could possibly use to influence him. They do have stuff that could be used.
Democrats and the DNC. Did I call you? Yeah.
But they didn't steal it. A Democrat working for the DNC stole it because he was so pissed off because of what the DNC was doing to Bernie Sanders.
Or he had dollar
him
signs
over.
in his eyes.
Or potentially...
Right.
Potentially he did.
Yeah.
Potentially somebody was offering him money. We don't know what Seth Rich had in mind, but it could have been he was selling it. A transaction.
It was a great theory you had it in the parking lot this morning when we got started. Yeah,
you should hear the stuff I come up with on the shitter. I'm telling you, the parking lot was good. I do some of my best work. So. That's actually the name of it. I think it's like a legal name, so it can't be like a bad word. So I don't want to get explicit. I don't want to have to be explicit on this show. Sometimes I get a little bit upset. We can edit that. So, yes,
awkward silence. Right
awkward
there.
silence.
Yeah,
yes.
Sorry.
So we've got how many minutes left?
7.
About 7. Okay.
Yeah.
So can I take these last 7 minutes and discuss the last thing that I'm going to be posting this online, but I got 7 minutes. I got to talk about this.
I'll give you 3.
I got. Okay, let me pull this up here. Okay, not that. Okay, listen to the title of this, which I will be posting soon. Would you?
I can't turn that off.
You can't.
It's done. Yeah, sorry.
So, the title of this, you don't be eating into my 7 minutes. U.S. pro-Iranian agenda used Voice of America broadcast, MSNBC reporters, none spoke Farsi. More effective internet program cut. So that's the headline of what I'm working on right now. There is part of the dark state would be people doing subversive things within the government at lower levels that go against what Like George Bush was clearly not a pro-Iranian president, right?
Was there ever a pro-Iranian president?
Obama, apparently.
I guess you're right.
Okay, I'm thinking Obama
like
because
$400 billion.
Wait till you hear this, and you're gonna say, "Oh crap!" I guess he was, but this actually was pre-Obama. These people, this started in like 2006, right? So, listen to what I have here so far. For those of you that have never heard of Voice of America, or VOA, it is essentially a crappy version of Russia's more popular RT, Russian television. You could compare the ratings to that of Fox News and MSNBC. As a good example, with the VOA being MSNBC and RT ratings being Fox, right? So they're just absolutely getting their ass kicked, crushed. RT, the Russian television, actually has credibility throughout the world more than CNN does, which is so you got RT and then you got VOA, both openly, nothing violating. But then you do notice, even by me starting with this, the hypocrisy of us going, the Russians are trying to influence our elections, and we have Voice of America throughout the world, which is designed to try to influence other countries' elections, right? So, bit of irony there. So let me go on, because I know we're running out of time here. So, you should compare the rate. Okay, so, RT ratings. So much what you hear in the news following the 2016 presidential election is how Russia was meddling in our sovereign democratic election process, as U.S. officials on both sides of the aisle express feigned outrage. The state-sponsored VOA goes plugging right along, messing with everyone's elections. The hypocrisy is so thick you can cut it with a knife. The real outrage is that we're getting our asses kicked by the Russians in social media and broadcast PSYOP. Now, one possible explanation for the VOA having ratings comparable to MSNBC is that we contracted MSNBC reporters to provide content for America's foreign policy narrative in Iran back in 2006.
But nobody spoke Farsi.
None of them spoke Farsi or wrote it, first of all. So these were the analysts.
Widely popular there.
These were the analysts that were chosen
That's like me watching Univision or Telemundo.
These were the analysts that were chosen to spread the American narrative, America's democracy throughout a Farsi-speaking land when no one spoke Farsi
in a volatile, environment. You know what I mean?
It'd be like me sending me to Mexico.
Did you know that I have a friend who
only talking to Mexican people?
Did you know I have a friend who speaks Farsi? I know we're running out of time, but I have it right here. You ready? Here we go.
شما دارین گوش میدین به Kevin Hawley Show. شما دارین گوش میدین به Kevin Hawley Show. شما دارین گوش میدین به برنامه Kevin Hawley.
And there you have it. The Kevin Hawley Show and The Swamp, Farsi relevant.
Very Farsi relevant.
Yeah.
Now we're going to be on another list. One possible explanation for VOA. So let me finish this.
No, I'm going to interrupt you. We can go late. It's fine. If we are on a list, maybe we'll get like $400 million delivered to on a pallet.
Not on that. We're not on that list.
All right, carry on.
One possible explanation for VOA having ratings comparable to MSNBC is that we contracted reporters to provide content for American foreign policy. Now, this is all from a Newsmax article, which is a very reputable article, a very reputable Newsmax, right? Very reputable organization.
Sure.
Going far back as the beginning of the Bush second term, strange things began happening with Voice of America and their political agenda, and as was reported in this February 13, 2007 article in Newsmax. Now, in that article, let me just the very opening paragraph of that article is Oklahoma Republican Senator Tom Coburn has released a pair of bombshell reports on the U.S. government broadcasting to Iran, writing to President George W. Bush that the broadcasts undermine U.S. policy on Iran and even supporting the propaganda of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So these guys were actually basically boasting a pro-Iranian Voice of America. All right. So much to where these other organizations called in. So that was a report from Senator Tom Coburn. Let's say, okay.
Guilty.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, so interagency. Okay, so according to Newsmax article, Interagency Steering Group submitted a report saying neither network has been effective at representing the views of U.S. government's mission, of the U.S. mission, of the U.S. government, a mission defined in VOA's charter, let alone at promoting democracy. Okay, so they weren't even promoting democracy. I got to get couple more minutes. All right?
Sure.
Can you hold on here? Where is that? Right there. No, there. Right here.
Take your time. We're live.
I got it. So they had one lady in here. And this is, I'm going to do like a show, probably next week. I'll have this done. I'll have it posted. Okay, so the Broadcasting Board of Governors commissioned a translation of VOA's presentation of the President's 2007 State of the Union address at Coburn's request. The results showed that VOA failed to provide Iranians a clear and effective presentation of our foreign policy, but provided another platform for its critics, Coburn said. Of the two guests invited by the VOA to comment on the speech was Dr. Mansour Farhang, a former Islamic Republic of Iran ambassador. Farhang dismissed the speech as a baseless statement and opined that U.S. policy in Iraq had no connection to reality. Apparently agreeing with these views, VOA moderator Satara Dekaresh added that most Americans oppose the president's policies, including the proposed troop surge. There is no poll cited or other basis for the statement, but it is presented as fact. Now, doesn't that sound a little bit like what you hear with MSNBC right now today with what's going on?
Not at all, Pat. Not at all.
Exactly.
You're so wrong.
So,
of course.
Okay, this is, and I will let you end me.
I cannot wait to end you. I've been wanting you to tell me that for 10, 12 weeks now.
Dr. Farhang claimed that Bush had rejected the wise diplomatic solution to Iraq, which involved direct negotiations with Iran.
Sure.
And was expanding the war, which involved direct negotiations with Iran, that's what Obama wanted, right? Not to lose international clout. In order not to lose international clout. Farhang also claimed that the U.S. was to blame for increased violence and instability in Iraq. The only other guest, Hormuz Hakhmat, who we were told was supposed to be the balance to Dr. Farhang, when asked, said he agreed with Farhang. The Iran Steering Group reported that the VOA Persian TV often invites guests who defend the Islamic Republic version of issues. It consistently fails to maintain a balance of informed guests. In one April 18, 2006 program devoted to Iran's nuclear program, for example, VOA News invited two nuclear experts, in quotes. One of them was that Mr. Nakai again.
Islamophobic.
VOA News did not describe his academic or professional affiliations. As it turns out, Mr. Nakai was the advisor in the Iranian regime and defender of its nuclear policy. Where am I? There's a...
Xenophobic. Islamophobic.
You got to give me one more second.
No
one
problem.
more minute.
Xenophobic. Islamophobic.
There is something so funny. Really serious.
Islamophobic.
It is funny, Pat. It's so funny. Hillary's laughing.
Hey, give me some more Hillary. You got to buy me some time.
I got to buy you some time. No problem. I got this right here. I'm really hungry, so here.
I want to thank all my friends in the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I personally think a taco truck on every corner sounds absolutely delicious.
I think it sounds delicious as well. Taco truck on every corner. Oh, my God. Love tacos. So Patrick Berge, searching through his content right now, check him out, pfc40book.com. Follow him on Twitter at pfc40book.com. Follow us on The Swamp. by going to Spreaker.com. We do have a chat room available. You can, anytime listening to us live, indulge in the chat room and divulge Russian secrets. We welcome that.
I'll thanks for killing time there for me. I will, because I'm going to do this in a whole segment here. I'll find it, but it was hilarious because the VOA, the MSNBC, or the person for the VOA was arguing this point, and when she was all done, she had totally slammed. She was responding to this guy's question. Mm-hmm. And totally slammed America in the process. And when she was done, the guy looked at her and said, I was actually referring to Iran as being the bad person here.
Who would have thought? No.
So, but one last thing. My connection to this, how I understand, what got me started in this, because of my involvement with like social media psychological operations, IIA, IO, we won't keep going over those things, right? But it's good to keep going over them. It makes people smart. My connection to that was I wanted to work. VOA have proxy servers set up which allow Iranians to have access to content outside of Iran. Otherwise, Iran blocks all their access to everything, right? So VOA sets up these servers and tells Iranians where they're at, and Iranians can connect up through a proxy server, and their government won't know that they're accessing outside information, right?
Sure.
Other ways you could do it. The VOA has a satellite broadcast, but how are they going to get the VOA message people?
Via proxy?
They're not going to. Well, they're not going to put a satellite on their roof and not get caught, because you can't have a freaking satellite in Iran. So
what if you put a burqa on it?
So well, hear me out here, right? Why would you fund a program to provide a satellite broadcast over Iran when nobody in Iran can have a satellite on their roof without the Iranian government coming in going, what are you doing with a satellite? You're not allowed to have that,
Do
right?
they have to point the satellite to the east twice a day?
I don't know. So that's a good point, though,
pick
right?
up the signal.
I mean, why would taxpayers pay for funding a project to bring satellite access to somebody? So no.
When it's not allowed, yeah.
So they've got the radio broadcast, which requires, what's limited on range, requires antennas and such, right? It's not totally limited on range.
It's a series of tubes, right?
But it requires like big antennas and stuff, so now the government can see big antennas on their roof.
It's not a big truck.
Right?
Yeah.
So now the government can see big antennas on their roof, right?
I agree, yes.
So why fund a project like that?
But they don't have like FiOS and things like that.
We're spending, it was a $50 million. They asked for an additional $50 million increase for the radio show, and they're like, why? When you have this project like standing up a few servers, which allows them access to everything, it would allow all sorts of different opportunities for the Voice of America and for the United States government to be able to express our narrative and express democracy, right? Spread democracy. Very cheap. This is what I'm telling you right now. Within, I had submitted several different ideas for this. I found out that within a month of Obama taking over office as president back in 2008, he cut the funding for the server, for the proxy servers in Iran that we were using to provide Iranians with outside information, right? Access to Facebook, access to all this stuff, so that they couldn't get caught, right? We provide them that. Obama, within a month, cuts that funding. So now all they got, why did they cut that funding? Because you can't really control, well, absolutely you can control it, but you couldn't control it like the MSNBC people could, that are working the radio and TV broadcasts, which are stupid to have a TV broadcast because those require big antennas on your house. Why not just have an internet broadcast that allows people to download software, and then from that, go to a website, from that software, be able to anonymously, without the Iranian government detecting you, be able to access what we want to be able to have you see.
The bad part about that is that what they are going to see is not going to be in Farsi.
No, because the MSNBC folks they hired to go over there to do it don't speak frickin' Farsi, because your taxpayer dollars are at work, and because the snowflakes want to get their message out any way they can. There's your dark state, folks. That Obama kills that program, which could have gotten extremely effective. Dude, these programs that we were working on over there, extremely effective. We can show you numbers that show an impact. You can't show a number that shows an impact on a TV broadcast or a radio broadcast from the West into Iran. I'm sorry. I'm not aware of Nielsen having Iranian television.
Pretty sure that's not
numbers, right? Yeah, so we do have numbers. We did have numbers with what we were doing with these proxy servers. Obama cuts them within the first month he's in office. Why? Oh, and might I add, that was about 3 months before the election, the presidential election. Why the hell would you cut funding for those proxy servers, which have been there for a long time, and providing reliable access for Iranians to access stuff outside of the U.S.? Now, obviously, you can't control the outside of Iran. Obviously, you can't control the internet like you can the narrative on MSNBC. So he cuts it.
Makes perfect sense for the agenda of the Obama administration and the dark state.
So I hope everybody who's not happy with things the way they are politically enjoyed me squeezing in, running a little bit late tonight, because does that get an, oh my God, what kind of a button do we get for me bringing that out, exposing that?
Oh, no problem.
I have all the information now. What's that?
El Dorado, Washington, Manhattan. We were in goddamn Hawaii.
There it is. So, right? That's good stuff. I'm going to have this posted probably within the next few days. I want to talk about it next week. I got a good chance to go, and I want to find that section where it's actually funny. It's so funny. All right, so thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week.
The Swamp, everybody.
The Swamp. We need your help, folks.
Spreaker.com/Freedom Stream. PFC40book.com @PFC40book on Twitter.
Pass this along to other people. Share it. We're going to have a way to be able to be able to contribute, to donate to what we're trying. To what we're trying to do very shortly. But my life personally is a struggle. So I'm doing the absolute best that I can as a patriot, as someone who has had his life torn upside down by the swamp, by these people. I need your help. Let me go after them. All right? So we need your help. Kevin needs your help. I need your help. Thank you very much for your time. Kevin, thank you for everything you do.
Pat, you're the man. We'll catch you next week.
Roger that.